Hello, I am Father Jason Signalness. I am a Catholic priest and the pastor of St. Mary's Church, located in the small town of Hague, North Dakota. I'm speaking to you today because, well, we need your help. Our roof on our church, it needs some attention. But before I get into that, let me talk a little bit about this historic parish out on the prairie. We'll begin with this little photo here from 1890. Wow, it's a painting of the first wooden church built by the German-Russian settlers who arrived on the prairie back then. They built this church. It was one of the first things they did when they moved into the area and began to homestead. Before long, though, the railroad came through and it passed just a little to the east of this wooden church, and the town of Hague appeared, started to grow. So in 1906, they built this incredible brick church. It was adorned inside with beautiful artwork. And even on the outside, you can see it had an incredible tall steeple with a beautiful cross on top and the big clock tower. It was quite a structure in a small agricultural town. But unfortunately, even though they made great sacrifices to build that structure, in 1929, on Ash Wednesday, the place burned. They weren't able to save anything. Of course, back then it wasn't exactly fire trucks and municipal water, so it burned. But they were not deterred. These pioneers, even in the midst of the Depression, 1929, set about building a brand new brick church next to where the old ones stood. This was completed just the next year, 1930, dedicated, and here you can see a picture of what it looks like today. Thanks to the sacrifices, and they were pretty significant at times, of the many parishioners and faithful who visited St. Mary's Church over the years, they've been able to keep it in pretty good shape. They've done a lot to maintain this beautiful house of God. And as a result, it is a visited church. Now, Hague is a small town, but yet people come here. They make a pilgrimage to this spot on the prairie. Just this summer, for example, there have been numerous bus tours that have come through town. They want to come here, see the church, and pray in the church. Which leads me to my next point. This is a prayerful parish. Now, this here is just a photo of what is probably my favorite image in St. Mary's Church. It's one of the many paintings done by Count Berthold von Imhoff, who was an artist who, back in the years when this was being constructed, traveled around and, well, he didn't so much travel around, he was sought out by churches all across the northern plains and in Canada to decorate their churches. And he did this very well, as you can see. There's this beautiful image of Our Lady being crowned as Queen of Heaven and Earth by the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit appearing under the likeness of a dove. And if you go into St. Mary's Church, you will immediately, your mind will be raised to God. You will see, for example, countless angels in statuary, in paintings, in windows. And this is one of the things that's so wonderful about this church. You walk in there, you look around, you're led to prayer. You're led to contemplate spiritual realities and higher things. The angels, for example. Why are there angels all over this church? By the way, there's about 100 some. But they don't overwhelm you when you walk in. But if you look, they're there. Why? Well, I reflected on this a bit. And of course, as Catholics, we understand that God is especially present in this place, in the tabernacle where he resides as the Holy Eucharist, and especially upon the altar at Mass. There, we are joining all the angels, who are, of course, actually invisible, but they are gathered around just the same, worshiping the Lord upon the altar. So while we can't see the angels, we can depict their likeness in art. So we're reminded that, yeah, we are not alone here. Likewise with the beautiful stained glass windows. They line both sides of the church and depict saints, models of holiness for us to imitate as we walk down the aisle towards our Lord, towards heaven. So, it is a beautiful church. It's a prayerful church. It's a visited church. My point? Well, my point is this. This is a church worth preserving, even if it requires a significant sacrifice on our part to do so. This is a treasure in our diocese, in our state, and in our nation. We need to do what we can to help out. Which leads me to this fact. Well, unfortunately, we need a new roof. Of course, why? Why do we need a new roof? Some of you might be saying, we just put one on not that many years ago. Well, let me tell you this story. A new roof was installed in 2008, 6 years ago or so. 8 years ago or so. But the shingles began to blow off. They were put on asphalt shingles at the time, and it's a very tall structure. There's the wind. There's nothing to slow the wind down as it blows across the prairie and hits the church. But in the end, the roofer blamed the manufacturer. The manufacturer blamed the roofer. Lawyers got involved. And 8 years later, well, we're kind of stuck. And we've tried to get compensation from people, but we just can't seem to do so. I think we've exhausted all of our options for reparation for this botched roofing job. So what did we do? We patched the roof, and we patched the roof, and we patched the roof almost every single year. We were going up there and patch the roof. But it still doesn't fix the problem. We've still had water damage over and over again. And our insurance company has been generous in paying for repeated claims for storm and wind damage when the shingles blow off or when there's a little bit of water damage here or there, but they've had it. And so as of now, we have no coverage for interior water damage in our incredibly beautiful church until an entirely new roof is installed. And, well, that's a real problem because in 2012, when we thought we had the roof patched finally, we fixed the interior water damage and restored the interior. You can see there the scaffolding, they're repainting the walls and the ceilings. They're putting in new stenciling. It's restored. It's beautiful. But unfortunately, new water damage spots have appeared in the years since this restoration. We need to fix the roof soon rather than later. Here's a few images of some of the water damage. This is in the stairwell next to the sacristy. That's a particularly bad spot, and it runs all the way down the wall below the picture that you see here. In the south sacristy, we've noticed that maybe this is not leaking now, but at some point the shingles, before we patched them, in this particular spot, water would get in and it would run down into the light fixtures and down through the light switches, and obviously not a safe situation. This is the most troubling for me, though. This is right up on the ceiling next to some of the very beautiful paintings from Imhoff. You can see some water damage right there at the top of the nave next to some of the most beautiful artwork. This was really disheartening to see. So what did we do? Well, we, as a parish pastoral council and I, we began to look at our options. Because we are such a small parish and because the expense is so large for this project, a feasibility study was done. And I want to thank everybody in our parishes here in our parish for participating. You made it clear that you want to tackle one maintenance project at a time. There's some other things that need attention too, but this is the most urgent at the moment. And you all made it clear in this study that you support the project and that you want to see it proceed as soon as possible. So I sought the bishop's approval to begin fundraising, and we were given that go-ahead as soon as we had received some estimates and so on from various contractors and so on. And here, let me show you a little table that illustrates some of the things we considered in making our decision. We looked at ABC Seamless steel roofing. We looked at metal shingles from ABC Seamless. We looked at Gerard, that's the brand of the material, stone-coated metal shingles. We looked at a product called True Slate from GAF, and we looked at a traditional slate roof. Now, as you can see by this table here, we also investigated 3 different contractors, considered the warranties. We also sought estimates and weighed the advantages and disadvantages of each of these different materials and contractors. So the decision we made was this. The material, well, we want to go with the True Slate roofing system by GAF. This is a real slate material. It's from a quarry. It's not manufactured. And it is placed on the roof atop a plastic and rubber membrane held in place by stainless steel hooks. It is lighter and far less expensive than a traditional slate material, which would be much heavier because there'd be more overlapping of the stone. But it is made of real stone. And amazingly, this is actually less expensive than, for example, the seamless steel roofing, even though it's much better looking, and it's probably more basic than, more durable than a lot of the other options we considered, like steel shingles and so on. As far as the contractor, we really hope to hire a contractor known as Western Products. They're based out of Fargo. They installed the roof you see in the picture here. This is just a picture over the sanctuary. They put on this roof in Strasbourg, and in fact it's the same material, GAF True Slate. Their contractor is very good to work with. I've dealt with them personally, and in fact when we had them install this material on Strasbourg's church roof, GAF representative came out, investigated the work of the contractor before honoring their warranty, of course, and they said that this is one of the best tiling jobs I've seen in a long time, which gives me confidence in this contractor. Some people have said they wish somebody local could do this job, but really nobody more local does this kind of slate. And we want to make sure we have a reputable contractor that's not going to disappear, go out of business. So Western Products, they work all over the state. They're based in Fargo. They got an office in Bismarck. They'll be around. So to get down to the number, this roof in Hague is going to cost us $204,000. That is a lot for a very small parish, which is why I'm reaching out to beyond the borders of the parish and seeking help from anyone who is willing to do so. And in fact, we're going to need to raise $102,000 before we can actually obtain or even begin to obtain financing for the remainder and thus schedule the work. So let's get started. Now, we all need to chip in the parish here and beyond. I could certainly use your help. There are only 73 households in this beautiful parish, according to the most recent parish directory. And if you divide that by 73, 204 by 1,000 by 73, that's about $2,794. About $3,000 a parish, or excuse me, a household in the parish. But of course, there's no way that everybody in this parish is going to be able to give such a donation, or they won't be willing to do so. So I ask everyone hearing this message to please pray about this. Look at your finances. Consider what your sacrificial gift will be. And any donation, large or small, will be welcome, especially if you're, uh, maybe a little more gifted financially. But how do you do this? How do you donate? Well, if you're a parishioner, watch your mail for a letter with instructions. You should be receiving a pledge card in the mail. Otherwise, you can just mail donations anytime to the Church of St. Mary in P.O. Box 156 in Hague, North Dakota, or you can donate online. You can go to emmonscatholics.org for more details. Hope to have the GoFundMe page up soon. So, with that, I want to thank you. Thank you for helping to preserve this incredible church in this wonderful little German-Russian prairie town.